The house looked ordinary, a square brick on a quiet Yorkshire street. But inside, drawers slid open on their own. Water climbed the walls, and a figure in black moved up the staircase as if it had always lived there. No footsteps, no voice. Just a shape learning the rhythm of a family that never understood they were being studied.
Subscribe.
Pontefract, West Yorkshire, 1966. A mining town wrapped in coal dust, church bells, and the low tremor of passing trains. Number 30 East Drive sat on a rise, its windows steady, its garden plain, its front door facing a quiet sweep of a road that rarely held strangers. The Pritchards arrived in late summer, Jean and Joe, their children Philip and Diane, a grandmother who visited often, knitting warmth into the corners of every house she entered. Inside, the rooms were small but honest. Wallpaper with gentle wear, a staircase that creaked only when asked, an attic hatch that waited like a closed eye. Their first days were uneventful. Tea cooling on saucers, curtains shifting in the mild Yorkshire wind, neighbors offering brief nods through ice-draped windows. But the house carried its own stillness, not empty, not idle, more like a pause held too long between breaths. The first sign came quietly. The grandmother noticed water forming at her feet in the living room, a perfect puddle expanding outward although no pipe leaked and no roof dripped. She wiped it away, turned, another puddle appeared, an identical circle as if the floor remembered what should not be forgotten. Then the electricity fluttered. Lights dimmed without reason, a cupboard door swung open with a gentle, deliberate sound like a quiet suggestion. Nothing violent, nothing sharp, just wrong enough to settle under the family's skin and keep moving there. Jean blamed old wiring, Joe blamed humidity. The children blamed boredom and the strange shape of the hallway shadows. But the house did not settle, it only waited. Something inside had time and patience. The disturbances gathered shape in the way storms do, slow at first, then without apology. Water began climbing the walls, thin trails that shimmered as if guided upward by invisible fingers. Footsteps crossed the landing at night, measured, unhurried, passing from one room to the next with the weight of someone who knew exactly where each floorboard waited. Yet no one stood there when the family rose to confront the sound. Philip watched the hallway many nights, eyes adjusting to the grainy dark, hoping to catch a shadow mid-step. But the house never revealed itself while he was looking. It moved only when backs were turned. One afternoon, Philip sat on his bed, sorting school books when the wardrobe across the room shivered. He stared. The wardrobe heaved again, a slow, heavy push, and began sliding across the carpet, dragging its weight as though pulled by something determined but unseen. It moved the full length of the wall and stopped, angled sharply as if blocking an escape. Philip left the room shaking. Jean found the wardrobe's path etched into the carpet fibers, a silent confession that nothing in the house rested where it once belonged. From that day, the presence entered their routines. Lights died without failing. Taps ran without opening. Cold spots appeared on the staircase year-round. Patches of air so dense they felt inhabited. Visitors noticed it immediately. The shift in temperature, the pressure in their chest, the way the upstairs landing felt crowded even when no one stood there. Reports came from neighbors, visitors, tradesmen passing through, people with no reason to invent what they saw. Their descriptions matched: the cold on the stairs, the sound of measured steps above, the sense of something standing close but never breathing. A neighbor refused to return after seeing a shadow cross the kitchen at a height too tall for anyone inside the house. Still, the family named the presence Fred, a harmless label for something that did not feel harmless. But giving it a name did not give them control. It only made the silence more personal. And in that silence, the presence chose a focus. It chose Diane. Diane's room grew colder than the rest of the house. Her curtains breathed when the windows were shut. Her blankets shifted at her feet without hands to move them. She woke with her hair tangled in knots she could not explain. One evening, as she approached the stairs, a grip, firm, icy, closed around her ankle. She fell backward, her body striking the steps in a muted rhythmic thud that echoed through the hallway. When Jean reached her, Diane's calf bore the marks of fingers that were not there. The presence escalated. Lights burst, frames crashed to the floor. Photographs slid across the tables with deliberate direction, as though pointed towards something the family refused to see. Diane began feeling watched, even in her sleep. She woke to the sensation of someone standing at her bedside. No breath, no movement. Only the certainty of being measured. The black figure appeared soon after. Tall, robe-like shape, hood low over where a face would be. Silhouette without texture, darkness cut into a human outline. Jean saw it first on the staircase, a shape occupying the landing as though claiming it. It did not approach, it did not retreat, it simply stood until the moment she blinked and the landing fell empty. Neighbors reported it later, a hooded figure behind the bedroom window when the family was away, a shape turning as if acknowledging their gaze. The house took on the rhythm of the unseen. Cold patches spread. Stair treads groaned under weight that left no indent. Diane felt hands at her back, at her arms, at the fabric of her clothes. Not pulling to harm, but restraining, like something attempting to keep her still. And always the figure on the stairs, not walking, not drifting, just waiting, as though the house itself needed a guardian the family never invited. The house gathered witnesses the way old walls gather dust. Each telling was separate, yet the details aligned. Footsteps without weight, shadows without owners, movements that continued even when the family wasn't home. The story did not grow from belief. Belief grew from the number of those who saw. Explanations rose like breath in winter air. Some argued emotions made the haunting, stress born into sound, fear sculpted into shape, a family projecting tension onto creaking boards and shifting shadows. But emotion rarely moves wardrobes. Others leaned on history. The land beneath 30 East Drive touched the edge of an ancient priory's ground. Records whispered of a monk executed for violence, a man robed in black, hood low, his final steps taken on soil not far from the house. If the story was true, some said, his presence might linger, its memory folding into the walls, waiting for the right home to echo through. Still others believed in trickery, teenagers, imagination, tension magnified by close living quarters. Yet visitors, neighbors, workers, family friends reported the same chill, the same shadow, the same figure moving up the staircase. And so the last theory grew. No emotion, no history, no mischief. A lodger, something that lived in the house, quietly, patiently, learning the pattern of each room. A presence not driven by hunger or anger or devotion, but by the simple act of occupying space. A tenant between the walls, a watcher in the stillness, a resident without breath. By the mid-1970s, the house softened. The taps quieted, the footsteps faded, the cold patches dispersed, like memories losing shape. The Pritchards left, new families arrived, some lasted months, some only days. Yet the landing kept its weight, the staircase kept its chill, and the silence kept its depth, as though someone still waited there, resting just beyond the edge of sight. Visitors spoke of shadows cutting across the hallway in steady, unmistakable strides. Overnight guests reported a pressure of hands on their blankets. A few claimed the hooded figure returned, briefly visible, then gone, leaving the air thicker than before. Theories shifted, but the house did not. It stood, ordinary in daylight, unremarkable from the street, yet holding the sense that something unseen had made a long-term home within its rooms. And so the question remains, settling in the corners like dust that refuses to rise. If something waits long enough inside a house, does it become part of it? Or does the house simply learn to hold the presence that never left?
Like and subscribe.